Avoir. All right, we are rolling. Welcome to another episode of FitPetBoston Talks. My name is Leah Lodato. I'm the host of the show, and today I am here with Sam O'Brien. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we've been chit-chatting for a while here, so finally decided to turn the recording equipment on to get some of this juicy conversation recorded. But before we get started, I just wanted to mention BetterVet.com is a mobile veterinary service. They will come right to your house, help you out with any needs that you might have. If you're interested in that service, you can visit BetterVet.com or at BetterVet on Instagram and use the promo code FPB75. You can save $75 on your first visit, which is pretty cool. And let me know if you do use the service, how it went, because I'm always interested to see how that service goes, and a couple of my customers have been pretty satisfied. So, without any further ado, thank you, Sam, for sitting with me today.
No problem.
I know that this isn't easy. Slightly nerve-wracking.
Very awkward.
You shouldn't feel awkward because I've had two people at least say, you have to get down there and talk to Sam O'Brien. She's running a really cool thing down in, where are we? Abington?
Abington.
Yeah, Abington. So a little bit of a drive for me, South Shore. I think a lot of you guys are on the South Shore, but it's beautiful down here. Great place to have dogs. But can you tell us just a little bit about how you got started working with dogs, training dogs, and what your journey's been like thus far?
Sure. So I think it was back in 2012, I started working at PetSmart.
Ooh.
Juicy. And that, I was just like stalker there, cashier, whatever. And I was like, yeah, sure. I'll be the trainer here. So I went away to training with them for, it was a month long, whatever. And then I started taking over their training. And I did that until I got pregnant with my daughter. And that's how I met my husband. He came in, he was looking for a training tool that he was not ready to condition his dog to.
Ooh, talk about it.
I said,
come on.
So he came in and he said that he wanted his dog, you see how long our yard is.
Yeah.
So he had a dog at the time. He had just adopted, and he was like, I just need her to come to me when I call her, right when I call her. And I was like, okay, cool. How do you want to do that? And he was like, I want one of those shot collars. And I said, sir, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
This is not how this works. And at the time, obviously, as everyone knows, PetSmart is positive reinforcement only, so I can't do anything with shock collars. I couldn't even do slip lead work.
So they sell e-collars.
They sell them, but I cannot.
But the trainers
condone them.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would but at the time I was getting into more balanced stuff anyway. So I was like, hey, that tool's junk. Number one, if you can find it in a pet store like this, we're not using that. So I was just like, hey, here's my number. Shoot me a text. I'll evaluate your dog and we'll go from there. And then we met up for a pack walk. He literally picked me up because I got in a car accident the week before. And I was like, I don't even have a car. I'm sorry. And he came with his dog in his pickup truck and picked up me and my dog Zeus. He's 6 months old. And we just went to Ames Knoll and we did a pack walk and then came back here. And then rest is kind of history on that end. But yeah,
that's
so
cool,
funny.
Actually.
It's wicked funny.
You met your husband at PetSmart.
I met so many people at PetSmart. But yes, I met my husband at PetSmart. And he came in and he was like, I guess he said, when you go into Home Depot and it's anyone that works there, you're like, hey, can I have help with this thing? And they're like, I have no idea. And he said when he would go into the pet store, anyone else that worked there, he was like, they don't know what they're talking about. And he would look for me every single time. And I was like, you really did? He's like, yeah, well, you actually knew what you were talking about. I was like, funny, because I think back on those times and that's so cringy because the things that I said to people when I worked there, because I just thought I knew everything. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, don't say that. That's so cringy. But
I thought you knew everything just in terms of training or equipment.
Just in terms of training, yeah. The way that they train you and the curriculum you go off of, they're this is the most scientifically studied and
science-based approach.
Yeah, they get heavy with it. And I had to turn so many dogs away. And that's what really made me start reevaluating where I was as a trainer. I'm like, if I have to turn dogs away, that's so shitty. So many
it's
more
not
dogs
dog training, right?
No. And it's okay, well, this dog is just dog reactive. He's fine. And he just needs to kind of work in an environment that would be helpful for his goals. So I would train outside and just be like, I don't know, just toss me a couple bucks, whatever. If you want, I don't even care. I think I was charging $25 for training sessions or something. And then I bumped up to 50 at one point. And even then I was like, oh, still need to make more money. But
Yeah, but that's how you learn
a
too.
while. Exactly. And then I had my daughter and they were like, I was supposed to go back to PetSmart. I was going to switch from Hanover to Braintree. And then I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to not. And then I started dog walking for a couple other companies. We're doing like off leash pack walks for a different one. And then I started my own boarding and was like, I don't even like the off leash stuff anymore. Cause I'm like, half these dogs don't even deserve to be off. You know?
Interesting.
Yeah. So then I was like, I want to do my own style pack walks, but I want it to be more like training based first, which I know we talked about. I was like, oh, my pack walks, I would love to do this, and this with it. But honestly, right now I'm just doing my weekly services are like pack walks that I get dogs up and ready to go off to my employee so that she can have them on her pack.
Yep.
And then I'll just focus on like day school dogs and stuff like that. But been doing everything forever, probably since 2011, 2012. I've been boarding dogs and then took the plunge to get it all legal a couple years ago. 2019, I think, was like when I officially was like a named business with insurance.
Yep, totally.
So,
I think that there's something to be said for, I think that there's something to be said, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, for learning in a positive reinforcement only type of way, because I learned that way too. And I think it was a result of Laurie, my wife, taking on dogs that are, for the most part, really nice dogs for training.
Yeah.
So what I got to see in private classes was a lot of puppy training, a lot of how to mark and reward properly, and a lot of household management, no tools at all.
Yeah.
So for the first couple of years that I was training and, walking and such, I really was able to practice on dogs that didn't want to kill me.
Yeah.
And
which is rad.
I'm telling you, if you're listening to this right now and you are a trainer that hasn't been doing it for very long, like, please, for the love of God, work with nice dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll learn so much from, you can make a mistake and it's like not the end of the world.
No. And they can recover from it and probably don't even notice.
Yeah, exactly. Like your mistake is going to be, maybe you're not able to teach a behavior, approve a behavior, or, make the behavior as strong as it possibly could be. But I swear to God, you will learn more from doing that than you will by putting an e-collar in your hand and having somebody teach you things. Like I don't understand the kind of negative reinforcement, positive punishment part of training. I didn't understand that until I really understood
until you start working
the positive part.
Yeah.
Like if you don't understand the positive part and how dogs learn things, like you're never going to understand why you're doing what you're doing. So I think starting at PetSmart is actually probably the coolest thing.
It just sounds kind of funny.
Sounds funny
because Matt.
Yeah, well, it sounds funny because now when I would never recommend somebody go to PetSmart for training.
Sometimes, I have one trainer
because I know all these awesome trainers, but
exactly. There's one trainer. Oh my God, she was like my mentor, Pat Kahn. She's over at Braintree PetSmart. Last I saw. Her and her wife, they've been breeding Goldens forever. I just love them so much. They're awesome. So she was like a cool like mentor when I was in that game. And I think it's a great start for like some puppies over there. Like if I need dogs like sped up to speed, hey, do a 6-week with Pat. So she's like my go-to.
So for like obedience proofing.
Yeah, but
stuff.
not even just like a typical PetSmart class. You can go through their first curriculum. It's nothing crazy. Like she'll get you through it kind of thing. It's obviously not like, there's just some people that are like, I don't want to spend $125 on one training course or like one training class. And I'm like, well, you could probably spend like within that range for like 6 weeks if you wanted to start over there, and then we can catch you up to speed. If some people have like some crazy but I'm literally talking like under 4 months old, 5 months old.
Right.
Once they have
Puppies.
enough shots. Yeah, puppy stuff. But anything after 6, I'm like, nah. We've advanced to a different ball game here.
Yeah, I think so. I think so, totally.
So I'm like, when people say it, they're like, oh, we just did that. I'm like, dude, it's something. You did something with your dog. I don't care. Yep. Whatever. Let's see where we're at. Let's go.
I mean, if you really boil it down, is your dog paying attention to you? Then you did something right.
Yeah, because it's still a distracting environment. So I'm like, sure, start there.
Exactly. So
cool.
I think that there's something to be said for it, and it provides a pretty solid platform for you to do more advanced things.
Absolutely.
I think anyway.
It's a good start, yeah.
And I think we were having this conversation before we started. There's so much focus on the bad dogs.
Yeah.
Because owners are desperate and it's all the rage. Oh, look, I had this Cujo and now look, they're licking grandma's face.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you can learn on just a happy doodle,
Yeah.
I mean, that's
It's
how
rad.
I learned how to do it. And
It's fun.
now I feel pretty confident in my ability to train most dogs.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
that's a cool start. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit more about what your service offerings are now. What are you guys doing on the daily here?
All right. So currently my main service, is the boarding out of my house, basically. So that's like my day to day. I always have a boarder. Always have an extra something.
And you're always training, because I
Yeah,
always see
I'm always
little
training.
videos
Oh my God.
doing training. So what's
I'm like weeks behind on my feed too, like updating. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like every time I like drop a dog off, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'll get you videos. I'm just like, my phone's so full, whatever. So right now I'm doing my weekly services that I'm running. I do day school. I just kind of like launched that on low key, but 'cause I don't really have much availability to offer it. So I
Sure.
have a few dogs on services for that, like Thursdays and Fridays, where we're just working on that individual dog's goals. One dog that was like, she hated car rides. And I was like, all right, cool. Let's work on just getting in and out of the van. Started there. And now she's like coming here to kick it here while like my husband's sitting here eating whatever and she can just relax. And then there was another day that I had her out. I think I had her, we did some back tie work because she needs way more independence. So I had like the boxer puppy crated. I forget who I had in the other crate, but I had a tiny puppy in there, one of the Goldens of the labs or whatever that I have, which I'll get into. And then I had my day school dog, and she's been doing really good in like chill environments, like regulating a bit more, so which is good. So that's like basically what she's doing is just like learning how to relax in new environments with a new handler. And then a few other dogs we do like pack walks with. A lot of the dogs have like goals of either boarding with me or going on our pack walks. So I'm like, that's an awesome service to offer, like a day school training, because I don't do one-on-one training anymore. I just don't have the time for it. My kids are way too young. It's just like, it's not worth it for me. So with the day school, I can just go and pick up the dogs. I can work them. I don't really have to deal with like the human aspect as much. Obviously, there's feedback involved, but it's a lot more just working the dog and getting them to where I think that they should be, but on their time and not speeding the process. I hate feeling rushed and like I'm not giving enough like progress, with the dog. It's like I'm just looking at this individual dog and working that dog. That's it. I'm just rolling with that.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about that in terms of what you're doing compared to a traditional board and train, and what are some of the positives and negatives associated with those two different types of services?
All right. So board and trains usually, I mean, I guess it depends on who you are, but they're minimum of 2 weeks, and people take dogs to wherever, their facility, their house, or whatever, and they work the dogs. But I just don't know. There's a lot of places around here that I don't think they let the dog settle enough. And they just jump right into, okay, this dog's in for e-collar training or e-collar conditioning, and we're just going to jump right into that. And I'm like, but I would rather take longer to get my results than rush the process and have to like go back in and fix errors that were just kind of fast forwarded through,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that is the right fit for all dogs, obviously. And it's like money too. I'm like, I don't really care enough to offer something like that. I'd rather charge $100 or whatever. I go pick up a dog and then work them here. But if they're not, say one dog's not ready to even be here and they want boarding here eventually, it's like, well, I'm going to work with that dog on just being cool, just chilling in the car with me first. Build up a relationship with me so then I can expose that dog to new environments. I'm not just like throwing them into the fire,
Totally.
Which like board and trains are awesome for most dogs, whatever, go to the right trainer, you're great. But I think this is just kind of like a cool service to do with people that have time. Obviously, these dogs aren't bitey dogs that they've had like a pretty decent foundation of training anyway. And it's really just like an extra, more like enrichment, handling, getting used to a different handler kind of thing. So it's just a little bit different and I'm into it and it's cool.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people are moving more towards a holistic approach because we're not on a timetable. I mean, obviously, the more a dog gets to practice bad behaviors, that's not good.
For sure.
But when we're working with dogs on a regular basis, that time like really adds up.
Oh, yeah. Even if it's just like
once a week even.
Yeah.
Because I was freaking out because I have a client right now and there's 2 dogs in the home. The puppy wasn't trained properly because it's tough to have two dogs in the home if you're not a dog trainer. And,
Yes.
Basically what happens is like you call your main dog and the other dog comes running. But
Yeah.
like, does the other dog really have a recall?
No.
I don't know. So,
That's true.
I was getting worried because I was like, what if these people travel or I'm only going to spend 1 day a week? But in my mind, I'm like, wait, if I just have 1 day a week, that's still 50 days in a year.
Oh yeah.
To be able to work with this dog. And to me, they're very conditional. Like dogs will be able to say, oh, I'm with her. And they do act different.
Yeah.
I mean,
completely.
from what I've seen. So
I've had leashes passed over, and the second they get passed over to me, the dog just sits next to me, and they're like, what? They were just getting like tooled on by their dogs. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Relationship. That's all I have to say. Like, we have a different relationship than you and your dog, but I don't live with your dog. And that's the thing. I don't live with your dog, so I don't let like these little like trivial like inch by inch, day by day things happen. It's like when we're together, we're working.
And they know what to expect.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot different, I think.
So I think that that's cool. I think a lot of trainers are moving towards that style. I think you and I share that a little bit.
I'm into it.
And so as far as traditional board and trains go, you don't offer that as a service?
Not currently. I would like to. I was kind of dabbling in, I could do like puppy stuff because I do love the puppy raising things.
Yeah,
which,
talk about that.
I'll get into those puppies. Yeah.
I love watching the puppies.
Yeah, so I got 2 puppies on services right now. It's wild and I'm tired, but it's fun. So I have one dog. She comes 3 days a week consistently. The other one is between like 3 and 4 days. She's a family friend, so I let her do whatever. I'm like, that's fine. Your dog is awesome. I'll chill with her. It's cool. So the lab puppy I have, she's feisty. She's going to be a fun adult dog. But so she's working on, all of the puppies are just working on crate training, potty training stuff, whatever. And I'm really just doing like shaping like fun things with them. And I want to integrate more like play with them when we're working because both of them are extremely food motivated, but to the point where like their brain kind of like leaves Earth for a little bit. And then, we got to check back in. So I do a lot of like just crate conditioning here because I'm like, these are 2 puppies that eventually their parents are going to go away and they're going to need somewhere to stay. They're probably going to ask me. I want to be able to say yes and not like, hey, your puppy's still screaming in the crate, So we do some crate time here. I'll fill up the West Paw topples and I'll do like
What's
a little
that?
bit of, it is like I have a million around. It's kind of like a big Kong. It's got a wider mouth to it. Okay. So it's like a rubber thing and it's got like almost like little like slow feeder components to the inside of it. So you can put something in the bottom of it. I kind of like load them up. So it's either like a little bit of pumpkin or yogurt at the bottom. And then I put like their lunch in it and I'll just mash it all up and throw it in the freezer. Because I do like to do, like these puppies aren't just playing all day long. They're not just training all day long. They need so much nap time for development. So I do a lot of like enrichment things in between. So one dog will get their West Paw while I'm like working another dog in the living room. And it's like these 2 little puppies. The lab is, what is she? She's probably 12 weeks now. And I think the golden is 15.
She has like kind of long fur. Am I imagining
There's a golden.
Okay.
And then there's a lab. And everyone's like, oh, are they sisters? And I'm like, no, they're actually like weeks apart in different breeds completely. So there's the little lab puppy has like almost like hazily, like light eyes. And she's got like the liver nose. And then the golden has like the black nose, dark eyes. So
I got a lab.
I can tell
I got
them
a
apart,
lab puppy coming.
It's fun. You have a lab puppy coming?
Yeah, for myself. Hopefully,
that's so exciting.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
They're so fun.
The breeder just called me a couple days ago. So if I meet the dogs, I never like to say yes
until you like meet the dogs.
Yeah, I need to meet the dogs.
Of course, that's a smart thing to do.
I love the breed.
I love stable
my
labs.
Wife crazy.
They're just happy all the time. You can't upset them.
Well, and I think when you work with a lot of other dogs, you have to have a dog that is going to fit. Like I would love to get a Malinois or I'd love to get a Dutch Shepherd.
I think about that.
Especially I do disc.
Yeah.
I think protection is cool.
Yeah.
I think being able to train your dog to a like ridiculously high level of obedience. I think
awesome.
Being able to lure the dog and the next day go into shaping and all of a sudden the dog learns the behavior just like that is really cool. But we have an unneutered male Rottweiler in the house and my dog is, my little guy is very, wiry. So in order to kind of meet in the middle, and we also get a lot of labs coming to us.
Yeah.
I hike a lot of labs. I don't think there's a single hike I'm on during the week.
It
doesn't have
like
at least one lab in it.
That's the standard. Prereq is be a lab.
But they're just
awesome.
great dogs.
I know.
You know, and I think that there's something to be said for if you're looking for a family dog, get a family dog.
Yeah.
You know, especially a dog with a good drive to stay with you around. Like, I've been getting a few hunting dogs in the training, you know, our training programs and stuff. And it's really tough. I don't know if you have 2 cents about this, but, you know, these dogs, I mean, they're meant to be far away from you.
Yeah.
Like really freaking
And
far
not
away
care.
from you and not care and be like, hey, I'm barking. Somebody come and get this, whatever I'm holding over here.
And you're like, I'm with a pack of dogs. So.
Yeah. And so it's like, it's really hard to train them. And they're sweet dogs and they're wonderful
they're
family pets and everything like that. But
a different prerogative there.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, please, if you want a family dog, like, get one. Like, don't mess around with these other breeds. You know?
Like you said, like with the mouths and stuff, I'm like, oh, they're so flashy. They're so, it looks so good. And then I'm like, I literally have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. I have no time for any extra dogs, period, let alone a Mal. I'm like, no. Maybe when they hate me and they're teenagers, we'll see where I'm at. But
so one thing that you just mentioned, and I do want to talk about your kids and having dogs around your children. I think that's a cool conversation to have. But
yeah,
can you talk a little bit? You said puppies need nap time.
Oh, yeah.
And if you've been listening to this podcast for any length of time, you know how much we talk about crate training and the importance of crating your dog and having reasonable expectations when it comes to that. But we raise a lot of puppies too. And I think some people would be surprised to know that they do spend the majority of their time inside the crate.
Yep.
So can you just talk a little bit about why they need that time and how you shouldn't feel bad about it or like you're neglecting your dog or not giving them a good life if they're spending that time in the crate, but also talk about what you have to do in order to have that balance.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like the rabbit hole that I'm currently in, obviously. So most puppies, it is in my understanding, they need a minimum of 16 hours of sleep a day in any 24-hour period for just development, period. And a lot of people are just like letting their puppies just like walk around the house all the time. I'm like, what if you have to go to the bathroom? What if the puppy has an accident over there and you don't even notice it for like hours later? Like what? I just don't understand. So I've been kind of forcing, I don't bully, but I'm like, this is what you should be doing right now, you know? And I kind of make it very straightforward and blunt. If your dog is not crated, your puppy is not crated, it should be leashed to you. And if that's inconvenient, crate your fucking dog. If you have to go to the bathroom and you don't want to take the puppy with you because you're tethered to it, that's too bad. Either take it with you or crate it. Don't feel bad about it. And it's people are like, oh, I feel bad about how much I'm crating my dog, blah, blah, blah. Like, I understand that. And you're probably crating your dog enough if you feel kind of bad about it. But also the time that they're out of the crate means the most. So like the puppies I have, we're working maybe 5-minute sessions. If I'm crunched and have to go get my kids from school or something like that, I'm like, all right, maybe we'll do a 10-minute session. But I try my best to do like really short, sweet, little tiny training sessions and then crate in between. Because they need that. They need that time to be like, what did I just do? That was wild. Okay, when I did these things, I got reinforced like this. Like those 2 puppies that I have, they literally just sit in front of me. They're like 3 months old, 4 months old. That's all they do. They're like, this is super rewarding. When I just put my bum on the floor and I just stare into your soul, that's rewarding. And I'm like, dope. You think they do that for their parents? I don't know. I hope so. I hope that's just like, something that transfers. But not a lot of people are giving their dogs enough crate time. And then they're like, oh, well, the dog just hates being in the crate. I'm like, well, give it a West Paw Topple. You got to have those things on deck. My freezer's usually like locked and loaded. I'm ready to party, you know? I'm like, because my life changes on the fly. What if I have to go get a kid from school that's sick right now? My whole day is scrapped. I got to be ready and have like reserves to be like, all right, here's lunch, guys. Here you go. It's going to take you about an hour. I'll be back, you know? So, I mean, I guess I'm kind of random, but the crate stuff is just so important to me.
That makes sense because a lot of people have children and they get puppies.
Oh, heck yeah.
I mean, I would say the majority of
too.
people who are getting puppies also have children. So it's not rambling at all.
It's insane to me, honestly.
Important.
I mean, I am who I am, and I'm probably always going to just like get dogs behind my husband's back, and he probably just like knows that, and that's fine. The track record is we're going pretty good, you know. He has not threatened divorce yet, and I think I've brought 3 dogs home, 2 goats, countless chickens. And he's just like, okay, well, all right. It's pretty impulsive, but okay. He just builds whatever he needs to. But yeah, especially when you're living with kids, it's crazy to me having kids and dogs that people that are not, I guess in the dog nerd world, will just be like, oh yeah, I have like a 3-year-old kid. I would love to just raise this puppy with it. And I'm like, you have no idea what you just did.
Yeah.
Like no idea. The amount of micromanaging is just out of control. And I know that firsthand because I got a puppy given to me when my son was 6 months old. And I was like, all right, I'm home.
Yep.
I guess I could do this. That's my Chihuahua.
Yeah.
And that relationship with Max, like, so that's probably the only dog that Max can't really, my son Max, can't really just handle or like pet or whatever. It's very situational with the Chihuahua because she's a sketch bag.
Yeah. So who do you have at home now in terms of dogs?
What are
your dogs?
The OG Zeus. He is the man. Everyone loves him. He's the mayor. That is what I call him. He will be 9 in May. I've had him since he was way too young to be away from his parents or mom, siblings, whatever. Whole different story. But he's my OG. And then I have Peppa, the Chihuahua, Shih Tzu mix, which is 5. And then Kevin the Dachshund is 3. And then Bobby is my bonus, whatever he is. And he's just turned 1. And everyone's like, oh, what kind of doodle is he? And I'm like, I can't even get into that right now. I'm like, he's a poodle mix. Don't know. That's
so is he rescued or he?
No, he was an owner surrender. Okay. I mean, I guess whatever you want to call it. But yeah, someone, one of my clients was like, hey, do you want this dog? And I was like, no, but I'll meet him. So I went and met him and he just like balls to the wall, like way too much confidence for his own little like spicy body. Like he just like, I don't know. He just dragged this woman out of this door and I was like, all right, he's not fearful. I'll take him. That's fine.
Yep.
I was like, I can find him a nice home. That'll be great. Whatever. And he's still
in
rotation.
Still with you. Hey,
he's the man.
That's good. We talked about that earlier too. Just being able to let a dog settle in with you so you really know, and especially if you're responsible for adopting the dog out.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that is a good habit to get into if you're a dog person and you take on a foster, like know what they're doing and have confidence before you adopt the dog out. I think that's a really important thing. What about Zeus? What breed is he?
I don't even know, man. He's his mom was this cute little like pity thing. She was probably like 60 pounds pregnant, 50 pounds normal. You know, like she was this like real cute thing. I was like, wow, she's so nice looking. And then I got this thing that like he picked me. He like climbed over like a whole litter of like 12 other puppies or 11 other puppies, whatever. To like, I was like, oh, he just chose me. I'm like this little like 20-year-old. I don't know. I'm like, oh, wow, this is so sweet. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but I did it. So he's like 90 pounds now. Like,
oh, he's a big boy.
He was not what his mom was.
Dad
like,
must have been a big
so
boy.
I don't know. Yeah, no idea what the dad was. I think there's like American bulldog somewhere up in there just because of the way that he's like built, but he's a big dude. He's a whole lot of dog.
Yeah, that is a lot of dog.
Yeah,
a lot of bully right there, huh?
He's a good boy, but that's as far as it goes.
Yeah,
he's crazy, but he's cool. Yeah.
So as far as I want to kind of get back to the puppy thing before we move on to something else.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the time after you train, putting them into the crate? The importance of that and actually working on something when the dog is out of the crate. Yeah.
So, I mean, black and white, I do have to do things during the day. I have other dogs here, so I can't just leave these puppies to just like ruin my house that I just did over.
Yeah. Renovating is beautiful, by the way.
I'm like, I kind of like really like that. You know, I like my house a little bit. So can't do that. So this is really just like micromanaging and making sure they're not like building muscle memory to like stupid things that you're going to have to correct later.
Oh,
like chewing cords.
Such a good point.
Chewing cords.
Yeah.
Zeus, I think as a puppy chewed one cord because I like fell asleep I was like, oh man, I didn't latch his crate. And he chewed my HDMI cord. Guess how many cords he chewed after that? Like literally none. Cause I was like micromanaging that. I was like, I cannot have an adult dog doing that. So if the puppy thinks it's okay, guess what? If your puppy is doing something that you don't want an adult dog to do, you should probably assess that immediately.
Yep.
Immediately.
Yep.
But most of the time you can just like completely avoid it. Well, not completely, but you can usually avoid issues like that by just managing with crate training.
Yep.
And making it not an option. They're like, oh, how do I get my puppy to stop touching my shoes, my Ugg boots? I'm like, what? Why are your Ugg boots
laying around all over the place?
I'm like, punch yourself in the face first and then we'll talk. Like, what? Like, whatever. But yeah, that's the puppy things. Like, I got to do things plain and simple. They need time to sleep. They need time to rest. Their brains are still developing so quickly every single day. So they definitely need way more nap time than we even give them. And then rotating for potties and stuff like that. But I try not to like, I do play sessions, but I try not to like hammer them to the point where they're just like so tired. Like, that's not fair either.
Right.
You know? So I try to give them enough rest time during the day that they are like recovering. Like, same thing for people that work out. You need to recover.
Yep.
You need to rest and recover. It's so important for you. So I have that mentality, that mindset. So I'm just like, well, I mean, if it makes sense for humans, why wouldn't it make sense for the puppies? Especially like I'm still raising 2 children. Like, I had newborns. We had all of those like milestones and stuff like that. So maybe I just think of things a little bit differently, but it just makes sense to me.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I think it's tough for people because when puppies are the cutest they're ever going to be.
Wicked cute, yeah.
So you just want to love on them.
They're wicked rude though.
Yeah, I saw a Facebook post or Instagram or something the other day that was talking about, basically doing skin time with your puppy when they come home from the litter and like letting them sleep in your bed the first few nights. And I looked at Laurie and I said, this actually really makes sense.
In theory, I understand.
If you're a dog trainer,
yes,
and you understand I can only do this for like 2 nights or 3 nights. And then
the
this dog
gonna be hell.
And during the days I need to crate.
Yep.
Because you've brought home an 8-week-old puppy or like Buddha came home at 7 weeks.
A 6-week-old puppy.
They scream in the crate.
It's terrible.
Because they're gone from this beautiful, warm, bustly
cuddle puddle of other beating heartbeats.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they're now in a wire crate. And
completely alone.
Yeah, they're totally alone. And so as a dog person that's had a bunch of puppies and helped people with a bunch of puppies, I get it. Like, yes, I would want to have skin time with my dog and let them sleep in my bed. But I know that I need to wean them off of that and get them in a crate. A normal person reading that post,
they couldn't handle it.
No,
they couldn't handle it.
They would be sleeping with their dog every night, and the dog would have
because they would get like addicted to it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the dog is like, well, now I'm just completely co-reliant on that.
Yeah, and so I think advice like that is a perfect example of just the tidbits that we are receiving on social media are not going to make sense to everybody.
No.
And these are kind of complex issues, and it does help to find somebody that can give you decent advice. Right. And like this advice was coming from a huge account. It wasn't like a known nobody type thing.
Are seeing that like,
yeah, oh, exactly.
Yeah. And then they're like, wait, we've been doing this for like 3 months. How do I stop it now? And I'm like, I am not the person to talk to about this.
That is such a good point, Sam,
I don't
because
have the time.
When you hear like when some of these people have messed up to the point of that, it's going to be really hard to find a trainer.
That's what. So who's going to be
so hard? Who's going to be upfront with you and say you fucked up?
Yeah,
and I'm not sure if you can fix it, but I know how you can. But I might not be the trainer for you.
Exactly.
And that's the trouble with it because none of us are starving for business here. No. Like people.
That's where I'm at.
Need
I'm
our help.
Like. Exactly. That's why I don't offer training anymore. Because I'm like, I'm going to match your level of care and your level of motivation. And if I feel like I care more for my own mental sanity, I have to check out. If you want training, you're an adult. If you need training, let me know. But I can't be like knocking on your door like, hey, do you want another session? No, I'm not hurting. I'm freaking busy.
Yeah.
I have kids. I have boarders. I have like employees. Like I got stuff, man.
Right.
I can't be hounding you. If it's like a friend of mine that needs help, cool, hit me up. But I can't be checking in. I'm sorry. I can barely like hand them my stuff.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that work-life balance. I would love for you to talk about raising children around the sheer number of personal dogs that you have. And then on top of that, you have other dogs coming into the fold. I'm sure the personalities with the dogs can change the whole dynamic in about a second. And I do think that this is a common question that people have. And I do a lot of one-on-one classes with my clients, and it can be a challenge sometimes to try to emphasize the importance of teaching your kid how to interact with dogs in a healthy way.
So important.
Because they're still a kid. They're still going to act like a kid.
Yeah.
But there has to be some sort of rules. So coming firsthand, what can you say to speak to that? Not problem. Kids aren't a problem at all. But
I mean,
when you dump a dog into
depends.
it can be a huge problem.
It depends on what day it is. I mean, today the kids are at their grandmother's, so I'm like, yeah, kids aren't problems. They're cool.
Yeah.
It's fine. But like 3 p.m. rolls around, I'm like, yeah, different story, different ballgame. So I mean, I guess I'll get into like the kid thing first. So I had both of my kids super back to back, no time in between, 17 months apart. And we had dogs in the mix. So people, like, even if someone has like a newborn and a dog, like that is so much. It's so much micromanaging. And I try to tell like all of my clients now, even people like without kids that like may have kids, like I'm like, I know this is a weird subject, but I just want to throw this out there, you know, like young couple, bought a house, blah, blah, blah. I know you're going through the list, you know, things to think of, you know, things to do. And then people will tell me that, oh, I'm pregnant, whatever. I'm like, I know you're not like that far along. You're definitely pregnant, but you know, you're not showing or anything like that. But baby gates go up immediately. I found out I was pregnant with Lucy when I was 7 weeks pregnant and bought baby gates immediately. Because I'm like, I know that the dogs are going to get shafted. Our entire routine is just going to change. So I would rather gradually change that over the course of 8 to 9 months, or whatever it would be, the math on that, than the second we get home with this screaming thing that smells wicked bad. And like, you know, like, I mean, let's be honest. Do we think that dogs know what newborns are? Because like, I don't even know what that is, you know? I'm like, they gave me permission to leave the hospital with this. Like, you can't come home with me and help? Like, oh my God. Yeah. So that's crazy in a nutshell. And then, so yeah, I just did like baby gates first, started micromanaging that. At that time we had 2 dogs, 2 Zeus, and then we had another pretty serious dog. And it was like a lot more crate time, a lot more structure. We didn't really, couch time turned into completely permission based, which is not impossible to do. Just throw that out there for people.
Yeah, go into that a little bit.
So basically, we had like this old raggedy couch we didn't care about. We didn't care if the dogs were on. It was just us. We were just chilling. We were just hanging out, whatever. With our dogs, just kicking it. And then when I got pregnant, I was like, the last thing I want is to go to like sit down on the couch and then a dog just like impulsively jumps up next to me or on top of me or whatever. So I just started thinking about it. I don't know if it's just like the way my trainer brain works differently, but I was like, this like freedom without like hesitation to like think about what we're doing. It's just like they're just impulsive because they're like, we're just allowed up here all the time. It's like, that's probably not safe with like a newborn. I don't know. I've never done that before, but it just doesn't seem safe. So I just started with a no couch rule. And then we would work a lot more place. We did like, I was like building up duration the whole time I was pregnant. Like any day off I had, or I think at the time I was working at like noon to 8 or whatever. So all morning was just training with my dogs. And then eventually we got up to the point where the couch was a no. They could come into the living room and they wouldn't even go, like, it's not, they could go near it, but they wouldn't just jump right up. And I was like, all right, cool. They have an understanding of that, but it's a social rule. In my mind, I was like, I believe that they believe that this is a social rule, because if I left the door, I believe with the pattern behavior that they had before, that they would just jump up on the couch without me there. So to make sure that that wasn't just a social rule, I would just either crate them when I left or they would be gated in the kitchen when I had a wall.
Right.
I did have a wall. So that's just like how I taught that really. And now Zeus, if he wants to come up on the couch, this is, I mean, fast forward 8 years later, because he was only 1 at the time, he'll just put his head kind of like on the couch and stare into my soul. And normally when he's like begging like that, I'm like, no, go. But sometimes I'm like, you're really cute. And then I'll make it like a visual thing. I think I got this from Michaela because she was talking. I was like, how did you make it like a visual, or I don't know, I guess like clearing up that like permission base, like to make it super clear that this is allowed now and then off limits is off limits kind of thing. And I think she has like, for the little dog, she had like little stairs that she would put up to her couch, and that would be like the visual thing. And then the permission was like granted, you know? So I would do like, now I'll just either tell him to go away because I don't want his drool face on my couch, or there's a blanket in there. I'll take the blanket out, put it on the couch, and then, okay, So that's how I do that with them. The little dogs, that's more micromanaging on my end, but because I don't care as much for the little dogs, especially like Bobby because he's stable.
Mm-hmm.
But all dogs, if I say off, you're off the couch immediately. I do not care if you're sleeping or not. But I practice that. So the little dog, like Zeus, he's huge. That's like a safety thing. Now my kids are old enough that they could handle a dachshund jumping up on the couch. They're not going to do that with guests around because my fearful dogs would rather die.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I care less for them. But if I say off, it's off. And off to me is all four paws on the ground. Now, wherever it was, wherever you were, ground. So we practice a lot of that too. So
you really started way before kids even arrived.
But I'm like a control freak, man. So I can't handle being like, oh my God, but what if this happens? Like my brain can't handle that. Like I will spiral and be like, I'll never leave my house.
Yeah. So you took care of all the variables.
Yeah.
Before the
I'm like, let's bang
arrived.
this out now. It just makes more sense to me. And I'm like, I don't want to like have like a negative association with like the kids and the dogs and the shift and whatever. I'm not really sure if I as a person could create that, probably, but you know, I feel like I micromanage enough that I'm like, well, this is just life.
Right.
So then as the kids got older, once I had my son, I had a 1-year-old and a newborn. That was super fun. Try to manage that.
I don't have children, but my siblings do. And I am an outsider looking in.
It's a shit show.
I'm just like, that is a lot.
We're just winging
work.
it.
Yeah.
Winging it. Yeah, it's a lot
of work.
It's a lot.
My brother has 4 girls under the age 5.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
And it's interesting.
I'm completely spayed. Yeah. I cannot. I cannot even fathom. I'll just get more dogs. I was like, nope, shop's closed. That's it.
Yeah. It does not look easy.
No.
So how do you... Okay, so I'm going to give you a scenario.
Yeah,
I go into someone's house, puppy's there, kid is there. Let's just say a 7-year-old boy. Yeah. He's on the floor with the dog, petting the dog, using his feet to play with the dog.
Boys.
These are just normal things that happen in my classes sometimes. And how did you go about creating boundaries for your kids so that they didn't start to treat dogs like teddy bears, basically?
Yeah. So my biggest rule for when they can comprehend, before my kids could comprehend, they were separated by gates.
And what age was that about?
Dude, I had
Don't
a baby
be
gate
to it, just relative.
that was up in my kitchen, and like kids were in the living room, dogs were in the kitchen, and probably until Max was 4, until we knocked on the wall. There was a baby gate still.
Okay.
Because I'm like, I don't play. And Max is like Hulk smash. Like you look up the definition of boy and like Max's picture's next to it. He's just literally the Hulk. He makes a lot of noise. He like, I don't know. He just is like, he's got like baby testosterone, we call it. Like he just gets crazy and then he's just like, and like running around the house. And I'm like, I don't want to be around this. So if a human being that can comprehend what's going on, that like a human being that actually brought him into this world, if I don't want to be around this, why the fuck is my dog?
Yeah, good point.
If you're frustrated by your kid, why is your dog in the room?
Yeah, what a great point.
That's so weird to me. It's so weird because I'm like, if I can't, and another thing too, like I have tiny little dogs. I have a tiny little Chihuahua. Chihuahuas hate everyone. They like one person. That's it. Peppa likes, I think, 4 people now. Max is one of them. She used to hate Max because she was in that tiny little crate and he would like, yeah, working on it, you know, and not even intentionally, just like advocating for her. And I tell everyone, and I know it's so vague, but I break it down. I'm like, if I can't call my dog out of it, it is not happening. If I can't call my dog away from my son pressuring her, if she's up on the couch, he knows that he can't like corner her and he understands that now because he's 5. But it took 5 years of like drilling this stuff. This is how we live with dogs. This is how we do this. No, if you're touching that dog with way more, like more than one hand, that's way too many. So that's my rule of thumb. Once they can comprehend, before they can comprehend, it's complete micromanagement. It's all on you. You need to keep your dog safe. The newborn stage is super weird. I don't think dogs really understand that. And then guess what? We jump right into now the baby's learning how to walk. Now you have a drunk midget that's pushing weird plastic shit all over your house and smashing things and falling and making weird noises.
Yeah, it's hard.
You want your dog around that? People are like, my dog is so good. I'm like, don't push the good dog, please. Advocate for even the good dog. Because your dog doesn't have to deal with that. Why? I don't want to deal with being smacked in the face. We're always like correcting our 1-year-olds from smacking us in the face. Like, why aren't we correcting the 1-year-old or just micromanaging the situation and keeping them separate so that doesn't even happen? Take it off the equation. Like, take it off. Like, why do you even need to? Zeus is the best boy. When Lucy was like learning how to maneuver and walk and stuff like that, he would go and stand at the baby gate. He's the avoidance king. When he's overwhelmed, he will choose avoidance.
Yeah, get me out of here.
Yeah, and I've always rewarded the shit out of it. So I would open like the gate. It was one of those like swing closed ones. It closed on its own, so it would be shut when we were having like family time. And he would just go stare at the gate, wagging his tail, just waiting. And I would be like, nice, dude. I opened up the gate, tossed a huge treat in, shut the gate. And he was like, thank God. So he always did that stuff on his own. But then when I had Peppa, the Chihuahua, she can easily, for a dog of her size, she can easily get cornered. Even if to us, it doesn't look like she's cornered. To her, she's like, this is fight or flight.
Escape.
Yeah. She's like, oh God, I'm either going to poop myself or express my anal glands or I don't know. Like she just can't handle pressure. So with her, it was a lot of like teaching her that she did have an out. She did have like the physical ability to remove herself from that situation. Sometimes it was following Zeus, whatever. It's still getting to the end goal. But now she's so much better about being like more patient and knows that I've got her back, really. Because I can just be like, yo, Max, that's too much. And he just walks away. So has it been years of micromanaging my kids? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Have they learned? They haven't learned like the hard way at all, but there's been dogs that react to them. Hell yeah. And they're like, ooh, on leash, obviously. Because like client dogs, some people will be like, oh, my dog loves kids. And I'm like, I literally don't care. Your dog is here for boarding. Your dog's not here to hang out with my kids. And like, when I'm working, I'm working. You know, like most of the time my kids are like, yeah, I'm like, I literally don't care. Like they're separate downstairs. They're probably not going to come in contact with them ever. And they might see them outside if my kids are like, if I'm alone with the kids and they're playing like on the swing set. But when they were old enough to even play on the swing set, if I'm letting dogs out, I have to cross the kid yard to get to the dog yard. Mm-hmm. So all dogs are leashed except for my own, obviously, because they're fine. But all client dogs are leashed to the dog yard. And when my kids hear the dog room door open, they run up into the swing set. And I didn't even have to teach them that or anything. They just run up to the little fort thing and they're like, all right, we're up here. We're good. Good to go. And I'm like, nice, dude. So that's just what we do to kind of like pass, you know? But,
yeah, I think what you just said, this is just what we do.
Yeah.
When you have household rules, whether you have dogs or not, I mean, we have a ton of unwritten rules in our house. For sure. We don't even, rules that I didn't even know that I had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
it's awesome.
The dogs do pick up on it and
for sure, yeah.
they will fit into that structure. And I'm sure your kids will too. But basically, if you're struggling with any of these things that we're talking about, make a new rule and just stick to it.
Manage.
And it will absolutely work. It might be painful in the beginning because, oh my God, I didn't remember to close the baby gate but it's possible and you don't have to be type A personality to do it.
Just I am not type A.
But just think about things in like terms of safety and just freaking
that's
do
what
it. Basically.
So that's always been my like thing. I'm like, safety is my number one. And if you think that I'm going to put my child at risk of getting bit by a random border dog that someone was like, my dog loves kids, like,
no,
man, that's not what I'm getting paid for. And also when I'm working, I don't want my kids near me.
Right.
Because I'm working. And when I am working dogs outside, it happens all the time. They're like, Mama, can I have a snack? And I'm like, get away from me. I'm like, go back in the house, give me 10 minutes, I'll be right in. And I just advocate for the dogs too. And I'm like, I'm not mean to the kids, but I'm stern. I'm not like, oh, you know, you really, no, I'm like, get back in the house, I'm working. Mm-hmm. I'm with it. Like, it's serious though, you know? I'm like, I have some dogs that like came here, they couldn't even be way out in the back dog yard with like a kid walking out this door. And that's like far away without reacting. And now that same dog can handle being like probably out in the yard while the kids are playing. The kids don't care. They don't come near me. If I have a dog on leash, the kids don't come near me. Same thing with my personal dogs. I set this like invisible radius of like 10 feet. Do not come in my bubble. I will throw down. Whether it's like an off leash dog and it's like stupid owner out and about in public or my kids in my backyard. I'm like, no. Yeah. I'm advocating for this dog.
I think it's a great point you made, advocating for the good dogs.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Because
all day.
And we see videos on social media all the time. They're just
super patient dogs.
Cringy because
so bad.
A dog is unbelievably patient and taking an unusual amount of stimulation from a child. And that's not normal.
No.
I mean, Buddha is a therapy dog and he does all his therapy work with children. And
yeah, but kids are drunk midgets.
Yeah, they are. And
impulsive.
And that is a really controlled environment. I think it's cool because the kids learn how to interact.
Yeah, and it's like a lot more like dumbed down. It's not like I live with this dog every day and I have
it's very dumbed down. But even at that level, like I can't do it.
It's still a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, like
I don't want to be touched by that kid.
Well, my wife does it, and I've gone to some of the events with her, and I have to walk away because I'm like, this is stressing me out.
Yeah, because like you're like overstimulated.
Well, I'm worried. I get nervous, and when you get nervous, like that's the worst. And,
you're like, I gotta go.
And don't get me wrong, like, does Buddha love
Dog's
kids?
fine. Yeah,
yes,
cool.
He does actually love kids. But would he love a kid if the kid ran up to him and punched him in the face? No, like, he would not love kids at that point.
I feel like I trust the dogs more because I mean, when it comes to my personal dogs, I pretty much know where they're gonna move and how they're gonna move because I watch them move all the time. Like, I basically just get paid to watch dogs talk. So I'm always watching them and I know like the signs, like, but I even know like when they're like low key, like, I'm just like over the situation, we'll just like avoid things like that. I'm like, oh yeah, hell yeah. I'd rather you go into avoidance or just walk away. Oh yeah, that's dope. We don't need confrontation here, and I'll always be like, nice. I kind of like throw that in there because I'm like, I like dogs that walk away from like weird things that make them uncomfortable. That's dope. It's like a really good quality to have. And I didn't realize that so much until recently when I was like, dude, Zeus helps me with so many sketchy dogs in so many different situations. And he handles so much stuff. And the only thing that like, unless I really put him in a shitty situation, he's going to avoid first, always.
Right.
Always. And I'm like, he's such a good dog, but don't push the good dog. Because I look back on pictures, even like with friends' kids, and yeah, he's great with them. He's awesome. But then I'm like, I'll read into it and be like, well, where are his eyes? Did he like lip lick at all? I wonder if he did. I bet he did. That kid was touching him with 2 hands, not 1. So I'm sure he like lip licked, And I like kind of start thinking like, oh, did I pressure him too much? Not that anything ever happened, but you think about it once you like learn as much as now, you're like, damn, probably wouldn't have done half that. So he was stable enough to handle it, like CGC dog, all that stuff. I was into that, whatever. But now I'm like, I would never do that now, just because I want him to know I've got him. Like, I got your back, dude. Like, I don't want to be around these kids either all the time.
Yeah,
we need our time alone. I have that loft, so that's my big crate. I can escape up there and just chill out. I have a 6-foot bean bag. I can just sit in it. Like, I don't want to be with my kids all the time. The dogs need crate time too. Like, we need separation. That's how I feel like I can make it work with so many dogs. Like, I've had so many dogs here before, and you'd never know because of the way that we have it all set up. It's like everyone has their own safe space to go back to. Like, kids have their rooms, dogs have their crates, and that's how we like kind of like rotate it around. It's not usually, unless we're feeling wild, it's not a free for all. I don't really have even my personal dogs at liberty much. The little dogs, they're just smaller and easier to manage, so they probably get more floor time. Zeus, he doesn't care. Like, he almost gets like too stressed being up here. He's like, I'd just rather be crated. Like, whatever. So I guess we just kind of make it work for what works for us because we do have a tiny house. It's not really much, not many escape routes. So I want to make sure that the dogs have an escape route always. And now it's like, well, you have space to move, but is it the route that you were used to? So I just try to think about everything in their perspective. And again, like if I'm annoyed with my kids,
the dog's not going to be around.
Why I'm just like everyone in their crates, like, because that's too much. I can't handle too much stimulus without getting angry. I get overstimulated. I'm like, there's too many noises.
You, I'm sure.
There's a lot of there's a lot of movement up here. There's a lot of noises. There's like a TV on, a tablet on. I'm like, hey, we need to just like shut it down a little bit. So that's just how we roll with it.
I think that those are great tips because we don't live normal lives.
No,
neither of us do, and I think it's sometimes easy for us to make assumptions about the way other people live.
For sure.
But even if you're listening and you have a child and you take a little bit of what Sam is saying, I think it would make a huge difference.
Yeah. Even if it was just like the petting thing.
Yep.
I tell that to everyone. I'm like, 2 hands too many.
Yep.
1 hand is just enough.
Yeah.
I think I got it from like some Instagram page. I wish I knew it.
But it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. It's awesome. So if either of my kids touch any dog, even Bobby, he would love to be touched by like 16 hands at once. He's like, oh my God, this is so great. But if they're even like a half a hand and a whole hand, I'm like, yo.
Too much.
Where are your hands at? Oh, instant. And yeah, you're right. 1 every single time. But that's, now I have a 7-year-old and Max will be 6 in March. So it's like, it's so much easier. It's definitely a lot easier now with micromanaging that stuff, but at the same time, it's also not, because Max is very impulsive and he's a very high energy. He's always moving. He'll just like be sitting on the couch calm, and then literally out of nowhere, I'm not even kidding, he just jumps up and starts like running, and he like jumps up on the loft stairs, and he just like jumps off of that, and I'm like, you need to slow your body down. So it's like, it's really hard to tell a boy that can't stop moving to stop moving, but I'm like, you need to tone it down a little bit, like scaring the dogs. And even if they're not up here, you need to tone it down because they're right under you. I'm like, I don't know how much they can hear of that craziness, but
well, luckily you have plenty of outdoor space to tell the kids to go around.
Yeah,
my mother used to. We had so much land when we were. My mother used to be
awesome.
like, "Go run around."
Just go. Don't come back into your tie.
Exactly.
No, yeah, we do a lot of that. Usually, like in the nice weather after 4 p.m., it's free range parenting for the kids, so they can just kind of just don't die. Yeah. And I'm gonna be taking care of dogs. And good luck. Don't ask me for a snack.
Oh, bring your snack with you. That's so great. Well, I want to wrap it up because I want to meet your dogs.
Oh my gosh.
But can you just tell everybody where they can find you on social media if they're interested in checking out your services? You said, you're doing the home boarding, some training, but pack walks are a big deal. It seems like for what you're doing on the regular with your employees. So
totally.
Where can people find you? And
I mainly do Instagram for now, because it's just like a lot to manage all the things.
Yeah.
So South Shore Dog Squad on Instagram. And I have my, SouthShoreDogSquad.com for website, but I haven't updated that in a year.
And are you taking new clients, or are you pretty much booked? Or
I am not. Okay. Only because we have like special life circumstances. We're going to be doing some decent construction here. So right now I'm only taking dogs that have boarded with me before and are cool with my dogs, because we could just have a construction dude show up, be like, hey, we're going to pour foundation today.
Yep.
You got to get out of here.
Yep.
And I'm like, all right, cool. I have 8 dogs on my schedule today and I own 4. So
there's
nice.
That.
Yeah. So I've just been kind of like tapering it, just manageable enough that I know that the dogs will be cool if we have to dip for the day. But eventually, hopefully, when all that goes down, I'll be able to offer more for
awesome.
New clients and existing and all that stuff.
Awesome.
That's the plan, at least. But my whole life is like,
as is
control freak, out of control here. So we're just rolling with it. I'm just like, hey, it's a shit show. Let's roll with it. Let's go.
Yeah, just keep working hard. That's what we do.
That's it.
Yep. Head down, keep working hard.
Just grinding.
Thank you so much for meeting with me today. I know it's not easy having a family to make the time, but this has been
cool.
Unbelievable. And I hope we can meet together sometime soon. Maybe go on a hike or something.
Oh, hell yeah. That'd be awesome.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye-bye.